Hey there, comic book friends! Time for another edition of Comic Book Roundtable, and we've got a full roundtable today. It should be fun. It should be long, and we should entertain ourselves if nothing else. I appreciate the 6 viewers we already have. You're taking time out of your Doctor Who day to sit here and watch us live. We appreciate that because I know that lots of people wouldn't be here; they'd be watching Doctor Who, but I can record it. So anyway. Let's get into introducing people. I'll just randomly introduce them. And down on my very far end, probably closest to me once this is all said and done, is Sleep Reader 66. Damien, how's it going?
Hey everyone, I've had a great comic book week, so I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. And then next to Damien, we have James Crowder. How's it going, James?
Very good.
And then next to that we have Jen, the comic book girl. How's it going, Jen?
Yes, I get to read all my books, so I'm happy.
Yeah, nice having that extra day. Me and Jen get our books on Friday
Oh, yeah.
and we do the show. For me and her, it's a race to see how many we can get read before we do the show. So having it this Saturday gave us a little bit of space to relax and read them. And next to Jen, we have Mike, Sergeant America. How's it going?
Shazam!
Shazam! Did they make one that's Black Adam?
Not that I saw, not yet, no.
Yeah, that's the one I want. And next to Matt, next to Mike we have Matt, Agent 42Q, or as everyone else knows him, Wednesday Serial.
Hello, Travis.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I mentioned it was Doctor Who night. We went from 6 viewers to 1. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. That was great. So let's talk comics. What do we want to talk first? Anybody have just burning to talk DC or Marvel or an independent book that's just got to happen right now?
Whatever.
No.
I liked almost everything this week. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with DC. Let's start the weekly title. I think a lot of us pull the weekly, right? Do we all pull?
Eternal.
Batman Eternal?
Yeah. Maternal.
Eternal. What are we thinking of Eternal?
I like it.
Oh, I thought it was a weak issue. I'm getting used to every 3 or 4 issues being very weak, and for me, this was one of the weak ones.
Does that coincide with who's on the book? Who's the script person?
Not always, because I liked the last issue. This issue felt like he was trying to tie up all the threads he was working on to a certain degree too fast, maybe, and things got kind of confusing for me and muddled.
I think they are tying up a lot of stuff. I saw Timian said something on Twitter the other day about issue 21, the next issue, having a big reveal and a bunch of big plot changes. So it was a very important issue. So
Whoops.
Whoa.
And suddenly he goes black. Oh, he's gone. Wow. Okay.
He had
Google
something
didn't
really
like that.
good to tell us, and now we'll never know.
Yeah. That was strange. So, while we're waiting for James to come back, Matt, what did you like about the issue?
I mean, I'm just liking the momentum and everything. I will admit, it was really jarring. There's a lot of times where a page turned and I realized we were with another set of characters and different stories. I was like, oh, okay, we're here now. Oh, okay, we're here now. But I like the fact that we're not just kind of forgetting about something. And I liked the lion introduction, that character. I've never seen him before, but I was like, oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me. That was
They
memorable.
mentioned him in one of the early issues.
Right, but we didn't realize that he was Gordon's cellmate.
Right.
And neither did Gordon. Gordon didn't even know who he was. I mean, because he's kind of this fabled legend.
Well, we also didn't get this page where he just comes out with the fangs on and everything. Like, whoa.
Takes his false teeth out and puts in the fangs and goes all feral on him. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a cool part. The part that puzzles me is the very end. Okay.
Oh, the big spoiler reveal.
Yeah, well, we haven't had any Stephanie Brown for quite some time, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. That
Right.
that to me, this sudden introduction to her not being Stephanie Brown, but suddenly she seemingly seems to be in a costume, because you're seeing her purple fingers. Well, at the very end, she is in a costume, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she is
yeah.
in a costume.
And
Purple
that
costume.
picture at the very end, is she like swinging across the swing set, or has she got like some crazy bow staff that's like 10 lengths long? Or I don't understand that.
I think it's a crazy ninja staff.
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna have to
But-
tune in next month
But
and
it
find
feels
out.
like there was a whole thread of her doing her spoiler website and then training to be a superhero that we never got in all
Right.
these issues.
Right, that confused me. The last time we saw her, right, she was running away from that phone booth as somebody was shooting the hell out of it, right, and killing the
Right.
wrong person.
She was living in the library, I guess. Is the
Yeah.
last I remember of her.
But so, in this, she's writing from a coffee joint, is where she's
Right.
writing this thing from, and then suddenly so is she sitting in that coffee joint in costume writing? I don't. That whole part puzzled me to no end. It was like, I mean, I had to look because I suddenly felt like I'd missed an issue or two. Is how it felt to me.
Did you hear what I said before?
No, you dropped off after you said Tinian wrote on Twitter, and then you were gone.
Yeah, he was saying that the next issue there's supposed to be a big reveal and like a big plot change. It was a very important issue, so I think they're kind of like they rushed this one a little bit. It kind of was like trying to wrap up a lot of stuff quickly from reading that Twitter post. So
That's exactly how it felt to me. Everything seemed rushed.
yeah, he said
Even
21.
the
was
appearance
very
of the
cool.
lion, which was cool, felt really rushed.
Yeah.
I will admit it was pretty cringeworthy, that last page where it was like spoiler alert, and I was like, really? That didn't ring too well for me.
No,
Well,
and I didn't care for the art either.
yeah, I
To be
didn't.
honest, I'm not a fan of this artist. I don't like the really short bat ears, and it looks like they modeled Batman's face after Bale. To me, is what it looked like in it.
After that one weird indie issue of art, I'd rather have this be the B artist than that one guy. I don't remember who
No.
that was.
I'd rather have the freaky artist,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
the guy with the weird eyes. I don't know.
I like this artist too, actually. I feel a kind of dark density to his art that I enjoy. It worked better for me last issue than this issue because the story got so muddled and his art's a little muddled. So anyway,
I'm curious to see what happens next. Like I said, for me, you're right. The lion part of it was cool. The spoiler thing at the end, to me, just felt like we skipped a bunch of stuff. But
Yeah, that's true.
still, I'm still surprisingly, 20 issues in, still liking the weekly ride, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you get a couple of slower issues, like Damien said, but I mean, overall, it's like, well, okay, I get a new issue next week, so if it's a little bit of a slow issue, it's not a big deal.
Right. Unless we get too many of those in a row.
Right, yeah, but I mean, if you just have the one, and I think typically, like every, third, fourth issue, you probably get one slow issue, but I mean, for me, that's how I felt about it anyway.
it seems like the Bat World just makes for a great weekly comic because it's dense and concentrated in one city, and it just seems well suited to me for this kind of thing. But for me, it feels like an issue like this makes me feel like the editor is not a very good editor on it, especially when you compare it to Future's End, which is also a weekly book where everything is smooth and works like clockwork, which feels like a really good editor is working on it.
Yeah, I enjoy Futures End more than Eternal.
I
Definitely.
didn't see the characters in Future End, so I quit picking that up.
Yeah,
You didn't
Future-
pick it up because you don't like the characters that are in it?
I just didn't care about them. I just,
Oh. See,
Yeah,
that's what
it
makes me.
wasn't-
That's what my biggest regret for not picking it up is, Frankenstein and some of those
Yeah.
other, not Grifter, but some of those other,
I don't like Firestorm. I don't like Grifter.
yeah.
Frankenstein's pretty cool, but like, it just wasn't enough for me. It was well written, and just the story seemed to grab me, and the characters don't grab me, so I dropped it. because it's not, it's a $2.99 book, but I mean, it's every week, so it kind of gets crazy.
Right.
Who doesn't like Grifter? Come on.
It's kind of like you get this great Frankenstein, then you get Grifter, and then you go back and forth. But overall, it's just a really well done comic book.
Mm.
For DC.
Yeah, I think it got better. The first few issues, I wasn't too sure about it, but I'm really enjoying it quite a bit.
I've been buying it, but I haven't been reading it, so I'm gonna catch up soon.
Well, then maybe I shouldn't spoil my favorite.
Oh, no, please go ahead. I'm on here. That's fair game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, wait a minute.
No. Go ahead.
There's
Maybe we
a-
shouldn't talk about it.
I plan on picking it up in trade regardless of what you guys. I mean,
This
unless
is
you guys
going to read
say, hey,
great in trade, actually. I think it's a good way to go with this. Whereas Batman Eternal, I think you're going to enjoy more weekly than you will in a trade because of its fluctuation.
I agree. I think. Mhm.
But I loved when they thought they were on a planet, and they turned out to be on a planet-sized spaceship. And that planet-sized spaceship is.
Mhm.
Did I tell them, or should I leave it there? I don't know.
I'm gonna go for it.
The planet-sized spaceship is Brainiac.
Oh, cool.
So we've got Frankenstein, Agent of Shade, trapped on a planet-sized Brainiac, and I just love that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, now I'm kind of mad I'm not reading it.
Yeah, see, that sounds cool.
So, what do you think is going on with the nth metal from the arm he got grafted onto him?
Yeah, they're definitely going to do something with that. Frankenstein is being... They grafted on Hawkman's arm when they thought Hawkman was dead. They cut off his arm and grafted it onto Frankenstein. And the nth metal in the arm made Frankenstein sleep for the first time in 200 years and gave him a prophetic dream and is changing him in other ways that we don't know yet. So that was really cool. So I think they're probably, since Frankenstein is, doesn't have his own book, they can do anything they want with him here, I guess, and that'll be interesting.
Cool. Well, that's cool that they're allowing them to open it up and really, mess with the character if they want to. That's kind of cool.
There's one character, Jen.
The only thing I didn't like was the very beginning when.
Yeah, this character, this cyborg
Stormguard.
Patriot character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty.
Like, he's a new character. I don't understand the point of him. He's a new character, and I don't know. That part I could do without.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to use this book to eventually introduce some characters they want to spin out for their own books.
Maybe, but they need to do a better job with him anyway.
What do you think of the character 50 Sue? 50 Sue? 50 Sue? This little girl?
Yeah, it's 50 Sue.
I've never seen that character before this book. Is she a DC character?
I don't know her either, but she must be, I think. But I haven't looked her up, so I don't know. Anybody else know her?
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
I kind of like her, but she can be annoying at times too.
Yeah. Well, and she's supposed to be annoying, of course.
Right.
Seem to have fairly unlimited power to affect reality or something.
Mm-hmm.
She reminds me a bit of
interesting.
one of the characters in Justice League 3000.
Oh, like
The one who's in love with the Green Lantern and shrunk him down?
Locus?
Locus, yeah. She's like a little girl version of...
Or is she like like the Jenny Spark or one of the other characters from Stormwatch, the Century babies that seem to have some significant...
Right. I guess in a way, except that she's utterly immature and I don't know.
Just doing a quick look over, I don't see anything on a 50 Sue. That character does not sound familiar to me at all. And my Google foo must be weak because I'm not finding anything. Yeah.
anyway, I really enjoy it, except that I worry that it's leading into the destruction of Earth 2, and I'm not really looking forward to that part of it. Or the destruction of Earth 2 has apparently already happened in Earth's End, Future's End.
Yeah, I guess because all those Earth 2 people are locked up in Cadmus
Right.
already.
Oh, and we see, the Superman in here has a mask on, and his mask gets smashed, and I can't tell if the skin tone makes him African American.
That's what I was wondering too. That's what I wanted to ask you. Is he African American or not? I don't know.
I'm thinking he might be the new 52. I mean, the Earth 2's new Superman, who's African American.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make him Kryptonian American though?
Make Kryptonian American. You're right. Sorry. Or African Kryptonian.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I don't know what word to use for him, but anyway, dark-hued fellow.
So, are you guys picking up the Earth 2 weekly book? Do you have plans to pick that up when it comes out?
I don't know.
I'm not.
I can't decide either.
I'm not going to, and I'm going to keep picking up the Earth 2 book until I decide that the Earth 2 weekly book has destroyed it, and then I guess I'll be done. But I don't know. That's another one I'm going to trade weight on.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make your plans ahead of time. I'll just decide at the last minute, or even a couple weeks after.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what do we want to talk about next? DC books. What else have people read?
Did anybody else read Batman and Robin?
I sure did.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got the selfie cover.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about that. That was all my store had, and
really,
yeah, I was like, look, I told him, I was like, I don't want these spins anymore. Do not give me these B covers. I want just the regular cover. I don't care what promotion DC's running. I just want the regular cover.
Yeah.
So they're putting me down for that. They didn't order any, so he ordered me one. He said he could still get one. And actually, the guy said, he's like, bring that one back when you come, and I'll just trade it out.
Nice.
Like, cool. So they're taking care of me.
Yeah. Yeah. As a whole, I like the standard covers as opposed to not that anything against the selfie covers, but I don't. As a general rule, the variant covers, it frustrates me. It feels like it's done something to my collection. I said that, but of course, October when the Halloween ones come out, I'm getting all the Halloween ones. So anyway, but yeah, Batman and Robin. What do we think? Damien, I know you on Twitter. You said that you weren't sure if you loved it or hated it.
Right. Oh well, did I say that? Oh,
or something along those lines.
Yeah, I thought it was a really well done issue. But I guess this is not really what I want from Robin Rises. That may be my whole problem. I want. It feels like all this stuff with the Justice League, and I just want Batman to go off on his own into Apocalypse, and I just feel like there's been a lot of other business. I don't know. I can't remember what I was thinking when I wrote that comment on Twitter.
I think they are kind of holding off getting too far into this until we get done with this September nonsense with the 5 years later or whatever it is.
That's going to screw up anybody who's right.
So I think that's probably why they, we're starting it off, but they didn't really go too far in depth into it, so you're not in the middle of a story because it ruins it when they do that. I wish they would stop doing September events. I wish DC would stop that. It just interrupts every storyline. Yeah.
Well, or everybody needs to know. I mean, I think at this point everybody should understand. We know come September, whatever story we're writing is going to get interrupted. Let's figure out how to write around that so our story comes to a conclusion. Then you get to September, whatever shenanigans they want to pull in September, and then then in October you can go back starting a new story. I mean, that's what I think. Because DC's going to keep doing it. It's their gimmick. Every year they're going to do this. Probably for time memoriam until they pull the plug on the universe and start over again, which I don't think they're going to do. But
my favorite thing about this issue was they finally addressed something that's happened over a year ago now with Death of the Family, and they finally like
Mm-hmm.
put some closure to that because it was always just been up in the air.
Yeah.
It never seemed to be.
I agree.
So I like that part of it.
Matt, what'd you think?
I mean, I did like that part James just brought up about the Death in the Family closure bit. It is weird that it took so long though, because now it feels like, but it feels like a transition to me because it's felt like Batman proper has been the main Batman book, but now here's our big bat event and whatnot. Now it's on this book. It feels like in a way the reins are being handed over after Zero Year to something with a little more quality, at the very least.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
What I think's fascinating is I feel like this book has emotional content in it. It has weight. It has weight. It's always had weight. I mean, with very few exceptions, the book has always had weight. And so this is the book that the emotional stuff is being addressed in. I mean, yeah, this doesn't move us forward very far in the whole let's go resurrect Robin thing, but it's still an important part of the Bat family stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Damien, when you're saying that, you know, let's just get in there and get going on it. And I get that, and I appreciate that, but I also appreciate how much of this was spent. And I don't even have a problem with how much time has passed, because you know what? To me, it would be sillier if, like, after the whole Death of the Family thing happened, the next issue they all got together and, you know, pat each other on the back and went, "Oh, it's okay" and whatnot. Hell no, there needs to be some time away, pissed off at each other and whatever. I think, you know, and for Bruce to get over his own pride, to swallow his own pride and say, "Oh yeah, I screwed that all up. You know, let's not do that again." So I'm okay with the distance as far as that goes, and I think this book addresses it probably better than any of the other writers would have. And I didn't mind the whole. He's obviously going to need that whole Batman suit, because realistically, how's Batman going to survive? You know, the suit's going to go down at some point, and he'll be left to being just Batman. But I don't know. I figured you have to go to the Justice League and get the super suit to even begin to, I don't know, survive Apocalypse.
Did that super suit exist other than in Batman and Robin? So
No.
he just made it up for this event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a very good issue, and the points you guys make me appreciate it even more. But I have been waiting to go to Apocalypse for 3 issues, and I guess that's why
I was seeing Batman screw with the Justice League too.
Yeah. I even like the conversation with Lex Luthor in this.
I did too, actually.
You know, they kind of come to an agreement. Okay, you're going to go. I'm not going to, you know. I think Lex Luthor wants him to go and get killed, quite honestly. I think Lex Luthor's going, awesome. If we can send Batman to another dimension and he never comes back, this is a big bonus for me. Here you go. See ya.
Yeah, and he's the only smart rich guy, right?
Yeah.
It was funny that he felt the need to distract everyone but Lex.
Lex and Captain Cold, because Captain Cold.
Yeah, Captain Cold.
In one panel, he's hung upside down, wrapped up in a rope. Yeah. So. Yeah. I still really like the comic. I mean, I was somewhat apprehensive over the Omega book, what this whole thing was going to be like, but reading this issue now has me back to being really excited to see how this whole attempt at resurrecting Damian goes. I'm all for it now again. So excited by that. Books I'm not so excited about. Are we done talking about Batman and Robin?
Yeah.
I picked up Sensational
Sensational Wonder Woman.
No, okay, awesome. Somebody else picked it up.
What book was that? Oh, okay.
This is Sensational. This is the Wonder Woman digital book. It's digital first, then it's being collected in paper, just like the Batman. What was it? Dark Knight and
Legends of Dark Knight.
Legends of Dark Knight and Superman Adventures.
Adventures
of Superman. So this is the Wonder Woman version, and I've kind of liked those other versions, so I was excited for this too. Wonder Woman out of continuity, done by, interesting creators to tell us some sort of an interesting story that will, that I would think would be cool. I like Wonder Woman, so yay. First issue out of the thing, written by Gail Simone. I figure we can't go wrong there. I liked Gail Simone's run when she was on Wonder Woman. I enjoyed that thoroughly. I did not like this issue at all. The first story in here is written by Gale, and Wonder Woman gets called in to Gotham because, for whatever reason, all of the Gotham's rogues gallery, instead of working against each other, have all decided to get together, and they like blow up Batman's car. And inferred in that is that Batman's in trouble and is out of action. So Oracle, they've got Barbara back as being Oracle in this one. She calls in Wonder Woman because she doesn't have anybody else to call in. But Oracle wants Wonder Woman to fight the rogues gallery like Batman would. So she sews up with these like giant W's to throw like batarangs, and what were they thinking? First off, my first frustration is you write a Wonder Woman story, and it's filled with Batman people instead of her own stuff. Why didn't they write a story where she fights Cheetah or something? Or I don't know. That was irritating in its own right. The second story in the back of this was just kind of an attempt at a feel-good story, and I may have to admit the little kid at the very end that gets a kiss from Wonder Woman, I'm jealous of him. But beyond that, I was very disappointed in a book I was very excited about getting to read. Matt?
I wasn't as down in it as you were. I mean, I get the idea of Wonder Woman fighting through the Batman Rogues Gallery.
But why did she just kick their asses, though?
Well, that's the thing, though. She did. In one issue, she wipes the floor with the entire Rogues Gallery. And
well,
she meets some resistance.
She wraps them all in lasso and makes them all see their inner scariness, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, in one issue, she wraps up the entire Batman mythos. Done. We don't need Batman anymore. Like, it's just kind of like, wow, okay. Yeah. And so it just puts her on this huge power level, and it's like, at that point, it's like, it's kind of what people say about man. He is just a man. He can't fight the people Wonder Woman fights, so what's the point? What's he doing in the Justice League at that point if Wonder Woman is this powerful? It just created this weird thing in my mind, like, what the hell is this? And it read kind of like fan fiction, honestly. Like, she's taking on the entire Rogues Gallery all in one go, and it's just, boom, Wonder Woman wins. Oh, look, there's the Riddler. Punch, Wonder Woman wins. It's just, okay. Wow. So yeah, that was kind of disappointing. The secondary story felt like a backup story. It had a cute little emotional point at the end where but I mean, really, I mean, there's this whole fight between Wonder Woman and whoever, and then it's little kids talking about, like, you like Wonder Woman? That's a girl character, and then they twist that around to be like, girl power, and I'm like, that's cool, but it is very much kind of like it's bordering on PSA, I guess, was kind of my problem with it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to keep getting the book because obviously the next issue it's going to be completely different. It'll have completely different stuff in it and whatnot. But for a first issue out the door, I was very underwhelmed.
Yeah, I think I'm done already. I don't think I can pick up another one.
Yeah. I like Wonder Woman as a character, and this is supposed to be my substitute once the main title goes a direction I'm sure I am not going to enjoy. So I guess that's what made it extra disappointing is I was hoping that this would just rock so I could confidently go, yes, I've got this title to back myself up on, getting Wonder Woman and enjoying it as opposed to what's to come. But
well, and the Batman and the Superman versions of this were so creative and fun for them to start out so poorly. Is a bad sign.
Yeah, and you picked up the first part of this digitally, right, Damien?
Right. I read the Gail Simone one was in 2 99-cent chunks, and I read the first one and was so disappointed I didn't buy the second one.
Right.
I heard the art was really incredible on the backup story.
If you like that kind of rotoscope Justice League Dark, whatever that was, kind of feel. I mean, I know it's not the same guy, but it's that kind of look.
Yeah.
Okay. I won't get that either. I'll just wait till the next.
Yeah, I wasn't excited by it at all.
I didn't dislike it, but it didn't do anything special for me either.
Right. I'll briefly touch on Batwoman. I don't think anybody else is reading Batwoman.
They still print that?
Yeah, believe it or not, they still
They
do.
give it great covers. I like that cover.
Well, yeah, Raphael Albuquerque cover, so that's cool. They quickly tie up a fight that ended in the last issue, which was not good. There's at least 2 different artists in this book, and it's really jarring as it goes through that. There's a spot in the middle where what happens, what I thought was going to happen. She basically sacrifices her relationship with Maggie so Maggie can keep her family together. I don't know. So they've officially kiboshed their relationship now. That relationship is no longer. So yeah, suck on DC for shutting that down and going through with it. I mean, even if they decided they weren't going to allow them to get married, why couldn't they have just had a difficult relationship? Now there's no relationship. It's done. Yeah. I'm only hanging on the book now because I'm curious about the October issue where she teams up with a bunch of odd people to do something. I'm curious about that because they're changing artists. That'll help a little bit, but this book has totally gone directions that I really wish it hadn't. And I had hoped that Mark Andrechio was going to do something because I've read some of his stuff in the past and really liked it, but this has been not good. And that's all I have to say.
Wow.
Speaking of dud DC books, probably no one else is picking up Infinity Man and the Forever People.
No, because I knew before #1 that's what it would be.
I just heard that existed, actually.
It's proving you very right, Travis, although this issue has incredible art by Jim Starlin, but it doesn't help at all. It's just so mediocre, and I can hardly remember what happened in this issue.
So is it still Dan? Did
Dan the Man Didio and Keith the Fen Geffen?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the writing. It feels very Dan Didio, I guess, more than anything else. And I just thought maybe it would get better with Jim Starlin art, but it just didn't help.
There's no fixing it.
I'm not a very obsessive collector in general. Like, I drop things all the time, but I like to. I have a collection of all the DC attempts to redo Jack Kirby's Fourth World books. So I'm going to keep buying it just as a completist, which I'm almost never a completist, but it's my one weakness.
This sounds like one you could wait a few months and would be in the quarter bin, though.
Very true, very true. Yeah, I should think about doing it that way.
Because you're the one person buying it that's keeping it printed.
No, it's got an exec's name on it, and that's why it's still being printed.
Yeah, although I admire that he was pretty tough on himself with OMAC and cut it off after 6 or 7 issues. But we'll see. I don't even know why after the failure of OMAC, why they tried this. But
because it's Dan, and he loves those characters, and he's in charge, so he can do as he pleases, right?
Right.
Well, I have mixed feelings about that because I want there to be that book.
Oh,
but I
so
want it
do
to
I.
be good.
That's my problem. My problem is good and bad. I've discovered that Dan Didio seems to like a lot of the same stuff I like, that I love. He loves all those characters that I love. Unfortunately, he can't find somebody to execute those things. He thinks that he needs to be the person that execute it. And when I use the word execute, I'm using it in a couple different ways here. It's just because he does. He murders those characters. I loved OMAC, and I guess everybody else liked OMAC. I didn't touch that thing because it had Dan's name on it. Phantom Stranger, I think he did serious damage to that character too, from what he used to be.
Yeah, that character was really butchered. Really.
And pre-52, I loved The Outsiders and Batman the Outsiders, and he butchered that book like nobody's business. So I was excited about Forever People until I heard it was going to be on it, and once I heard it was going to be Dan, I'm just not even going to raise my blood pressure by buying it. That's all I got to say.
Well, it's a nice choice.
I heard a story about the Phantom Stranger one last night, where a guy I met at a party who buys comics less frequently than we all do, obviously, was like, yeah, I heard about the new 52, and I thought I'd try the new Phantom Stranger, because that was a character I liked. I don't like Batman so much, or Superman, or whatever, but he's like, Phantom Stranger, okay. Picked up one issue, he said, I have not been to a comic book shop since I read
Oh.
Wow. Oh, there's so much.
Comic
stuff
sales are hurting because of Dan Didio across the board.
There you go. It's a monster.
Well, yeah,
So-
we read so many comics that we find the good ones. That it is scary to think of all the people out there who pick up one or two bad comics and assume they now know comics aren't very good right now.
Yeah, like in my case, I'm fortunate that I have a fairly decent budget when it comes to comics. So if I get one or two in a week that are bad, it doesn't end my week, as far as comics go. But if I was only picking up one or two issues at most a week, it would be a lot harder because either you love a character regardless of what they do to it, or you could be swapping comics an awful lot because. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I guess I need a bigger mix. That way, I'm not bummed out in any one week. Are all my comics bad? So.
But there's one guy out there somewhere that's like, I just have to have all the Dan Didio comics.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, there's not.
I'm sure there's somebody out there who thinks he's the best, and God bless them.
I mean, there are people. I've seen people who liked. Well, it was the first. I haven't heard many reviews since the first issue of Forever People, but there were a number of YouTube people who liked it.
Awesome.
And that all has to do with the context and what you bring to these things. If you've never seen any Jack Kirby and you see these, they might be cool enough, just from the little bit of Jack Kirby that seeped into them, to be enjoyable for some people.
Yeah. Any other DC books?
Yes.
The big one.
Got Teen Titans number 2.
So
Wow.
how is the reboot?
The second issue is better than the first issue was. The first issue was pretty bad. They're still not really a team, You've got, what's this guy's name? Bunker, I think. And Beast Boy, they kind of live together, and then you have like Wonder Girl off doing her own thing, and so it's, I don't know, it's like really disjointed, and there's kind of like this terrorism thing going on in the last issue. It was kind of like a Speed type scenario. They had to stop a bus. In this issue, Star Labs is under attack, and if they don't like put the fire out and stuff, it's going to blow up Manhattan. So I don't know. The art's pretty good in the book, and this was written better than last time. But I think I'm done with it. It just until they're really a team and there's like something to care about, the characters. And I should like some of these characters because I've liked them before, but yeah, it just, I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's just 2 issues in or what.
But it's really
It's
not,
missing.
though. It's really not, though. It's 30-some issues in if you want to look at it going back to the
Right.
52. By now, some of those characters should be operating together reasonably well, you'd think. And so to hear that there's still not really a team, to me, that's unfortunate when it's a team book. And yeah, it's a relaunch, but these aren't new characters. These are the same Bunker, the same Wonder Girl, the same Red Robin from issue 1 of the New 52, right?
Right.
So that just to me seems really odd that they are by now that they are established as some sort of team relationship. But yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So we're gonna get to the big DC book,
Yes.
the one that everybody that half this panel said, "Oh, I'm not picking that book up," and they went out and picked it up.
Yep.
Oh, Multiversity. So Grant Morrison's, I don't know what you want to call it. Some have said it's a love letter to Crisis. I don't know that I totally agree with that, but I'm still not sure whether or not I like this issue. I'll be up front. I don't know. There's parts of it that I thought were amusing. they're using us, the reader, as part of the comic book in a way. I almost felt like at one point that I was reading Grover's, Watch Out for the Monster at the end of this book. I can't remember exactly what that title's called anymore. It's been a long time since I've read it, but because halfway, very quickly into the book, they're telling you, the reader, not to turn the page. Don't go to the end of the book, basically. But obviously, we're going to, and so it's our fault. What's happening is happening, right? Because we read to the end.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like Captain Carrot in this. Well, yeah, I like him talking about comic book physics. How are you going to argue with comic book physics? Like, hell yeah. But it was also confusing, too, wasn't it? Or was it just me?
It was such a mishmash, and that's part of the fun of it, though, I guess.
Right.
It wasn't like the Batman Eternal issue. Like, this was jumping around, you're dealing with different worlds and stuff, so you're going to be... This is supposed to be, 9 issues? It's going to be very compact.
Well, in a way, there's nothing to it. It's just these bad guys trying to destroy the multiverse because they're nihilists of a sort. And we just have to get together as many superheroes as we can so that we can figure out how to fight them back. I mean, I don't see any layers here or anything. And my inner 10-year-old boy just loved it. But the other part of me, has mixed feelings about it. But there's a part of me that, when I first started buying comics, I wanted the most number of superheroes per comic book that I could get.
Yeah, and here you got it. Yeah.
There's so many heroes, and the little twist is they're all ones I haven't seen, but they're twists on ones I know, so that sort of helps my older 10-year-old boy enjoy what my younger 10-year-old boy enjoys too.
Yeah. Well, and for me,
there are layers here that I missed.
Yeah, and for me, it's Grant Morrison, so I know chances are there's going to be more to it than what I'm catching now. But like the next issue isn't like the next issue is like completely different, isn't it? In some way.
It's like a one-shot.
Yeah, it's. I was looking at the solicitations, between the solicitations and this, and I'm almost confused because it's calling it a #1 also, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a one-shot about like this secret
the Society of
Superheroes.
Well, is it
already
a cover on top of a cover, and so
right.
the cover of a #1 issue, but it'll be #2 of multiple.
Oh, okay, because of course we have the whole meta comic book thing going on in this, right? Every reality has a comic book about one of the other 52 things. So that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting now. That, to tell you, it was really confusing for me in advance trying to order this book, ordering #2 and 3 and stuff like that, because of the way the solicit it's written. It's really confusing. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next. I'm looking forward to the next issue to see what more is going to transpire.
So are they all supposed to be $4.99?
I have no idea.
I'm sure they will be for this.
I'm worried that
Probably.
as we get later in the run, they'll be $5.99 and $6.99. Like they do with the Batman Zero Year.
As the editors lose control over forcing how many pages and whatnot.
I just can imagine that happening. Because once you've got your audience there, you can play with the prices. I don't know. I could be wrong on that.
I definitely thought there was more to this comic. The first thing that popped out to me is this is basically DC's Exiles. And if they were to run with that and make that more of an ongoing thing, that could be really cool. The one thing that did really bug me about this issue, though, is it's clear that they're trying to do some stuff to expand the diversity of DC. But it's only black people. Which I know sounds that, but like there's no other ethnicity in here unless you're gonna count like Bunny. Like there's no. I mean, there's some gender swapping, but it seems so. And maybe that's part of it is like there's kind of a simple-mindedness to it, and I don't know. I did also like to play with Earth 8 and it being the Marvel universe, but not the Marvel universe.
Right, that was hilarious. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
What were they called? It's very funny.
The Omni Gauntlets, the
Yeah, the
Genesis Egg.
Right, the Genesis egg and all that stuff is like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, really, they're gonna go there, huh?
Yeah, no, it was. That
Well,
was
then the
fun.
lightning axe of Wunjin, yeah, or whatever, yeah.
Behemoth Bash Bunny instead of Hulk Smash.
And he has the diaper.
Yep.
Is the diaper. It's almost like a Mad Magazine take on superheroes at times.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
I like the little dwarf Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, that was.
She's-
Yeah, that was reminiscent. That those scenes where when they're in the world or whatever the heck it is that looks like a busted up Death Star. Some of those scenes are reminiscent of the the original Crisis. You get those big shots where you see all these myriad number of heroes from all of the different dimensions and whatnot that were in those. That's what that reminded me of, seeing all those different characters back there, because you got like Gypsy or a Gypsy back there, and yeah, the dwarf Wonder Woman, and yeah, I don't know, it was and Dino Cop, that's Savage Dragon, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Which
Savage Dragon.
Okay.
so weird. Where'd that come from?
Just, I don't know. To me, part of me feels like it's them taking shots at people in a way. Kind of, let's kick as many hornets' nests as we can while we're doing it. So
It'd be great if they end up in the Saga universe at some point.
Carlos MFDA is saying that the multiverse is made up of one-shots focusing on different Earths that stand alone as well as tie into the larger story.
That's weird because this issue didn't feel like a one-shot at all.
So maybe this is like Seven Soldiers of Victory, where you have a opening story that's not part of that whole thing that Grant wrote, and then you have these tied together stuff in the middle, and then at the end you have a cap at the end of it.
That's going to be a little frustrating because I sort of feel like I need to know what happens next after this last page.
Yeah.
But I guess not.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly how that's actually going to work out. That's what Carlos is saying, is how that's
I
gonna
had
work.
read something like what Carlos is saying before.
Right.
I was
Right.
a little surprised by what we got in this issue for that.
Yeah. I bet you it's awesome in trade.
Well, there
Yeah.
would be. I was gonna say there would be something to not continuing from exactly this last page because you are commanded to put the page down. You're supposed to stop reading.
Right. So obviously we're not picking that comic back up again.
Yeah, geez, don't be irresponsible. You're gonna kill the monkey.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it's my inner 11-year-old boy that would think that's really cool to be told not to keep reading. The 10-year-old might not get it. But.
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm a mixed bag on it. There's parts of it that I like, and I'm also leery with what we got out of that first issue. What's next? What's the story beyond it simply being there's bad, freaky looking monsters at the end of the dimensions wanting to eat everything? Is that simply all it is?
Yeah, I guess after reading this issue, I feel like I can turn off my brain and enjoy it. But maybe it's going to turn around and be something completely different later on.
Yeah.
And I know that Matt has been delving deep into Grant Morrison lately, so maybe he sees more here.
Or is that our problem? Is we're going, ooh, it's Grant Morrison, so therefore we think it has to have multiple layers to it.
Right.
No, the layers are there. They're there. They're present in this one issue, and they're not completely divulged yet because it's only one issue, and you can they're setting stuff up, but the setup is there. There's if you're looking at it from a postmodernist reading standpoint, which is where Morrison's been going since Final Crisis, you'll start seeing like that first page is like all about life, and then we end with like put this book down, death, but like that means like reading is living. Like if you're willing to look for very crazy, high-minded sort of stuff, it's all present in the book, and it can lead you there. So, smoke a bowl and enjoy.
There you go.
Doing that since Animal Man, right? Way back when.
At least those of us in Washington and Colorado can do that. Yeah.
All right, no, only indulge legally. So drop
Right.
on by my house.
Right, or swing by mine and you're okay. Yeah. Okay, any other DC books we want to talk about? Any DC news we want to talk about?
Not DC book, but Batman Assault on Arkham. I picked that up.
Yep.
The tribute to the Suicide Squad. It was very good, very adult in its violence and sex. And I thought the characterization of it was really well. The characters were flush. They all interacted well. It felt like the first couple trades of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, after last week burning the new Suicide Squad book down, I've gotten plenty of messages saying that I should go and watch that movie. So
Yeah.
I don't want to have to watch a movie though to get a good Suicide Squad, but I'm gonna watch the movie.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It feels a little compressed because it's in a movie format, but it is everything we've been missing as fans. So
Yeah. Cool. Should we move on to Marvel?
Yep.
Marvel, baby. Let's do it.
Did you pick up any Marvel books, Mike? What'd you get?
Ultimates, the new Ultimates, all new Ultimates. Never know what to call them. It's continues to be just a good group of young Avengers fighting drug gangs. It feels like the beginning, even though I think I hear that the end of the Ultimate Universe is coming, that they'll pull Miles out and put him in the regular universe. But it is. I mean, it's just a good young group of young Avengers, easy fighting. That's what it was.
So, Jen, that's the Teen Titans book that we should have picked up.
Yes. And then the next book, I guess, would be Elektra. This was definitely the nice end to the storyline. It was, it's still that beautiful Del Mundo art with the airbrush kind of feel to it, or watercolor feel. Great characters, just some freakiness in it, little drum color in certain aspects of how the art gets done. But the story ends, and I'm happy with it. If it was a miniseries, I would have been ecstatic knowing that it's going to continue on. It'll be interesting to see how it continues.
I'm surprised more people aren't talking about that book, because that book really is a really nice looking book and decently written. I'm a couple issues behind on it. I just kind of I haven't ever actually put it on my poll. I just kind of picked it up as a lark, and I've really enjoyed it. But like I said, I'm a couple issues behind. But I said I'm just always kind of surprised that more people are talking about that, because it's been really entertaining and gorgeous looking. So
yeah. And the assassin Bloody Lips, I thought it was a great new bad guy to introduce.
Mm-hmm.
That he eats people, gets their memories, kind of knows things, so he just gets more and more powerful as he continues to consume people. I thought that was a great one, a great kind of Elektra villain.
Yeah.
So
you can't go wrong with cannibalism.
No, you can't.
Not as an entertainment form, anyway.
Yeah. So when I see if they stick with Del Mundo on art and who writes it, if this is a continuing series, it could very easily be on my poll list for that reason.
Cool.
Great trade. If anybody's looking for a good trade, it was excellent. Mm-hmm. And that's it for my Marvel. So,
Ms. Marvel?
Oh yeah.
This is such a great book.
I love this book.
It just yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Me? I don't know. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books to read. And the whole interaction with her and Wolverine, I actually liked reading Wolverine in this, which was amazing. But And the ending was super cute. You know, how they find out where she's inhuman, and Wolverine's like, she's okay. She's gonna do her own thing, but send somebody, you know, to watch over, maybe.
Well, I think from Wolverine's standpoint, it was like, don't bother her. She's going to figure it out for herself. You know, leave her alone.
Yeah, that's true.
Because my understanding is in the Inhuman book, you know, now we've confirmed she's one of them. In the Inhuman book, they're basically scooping all of these people they can find. They're scooping them up because obviously they've got random powers. They're a problem. They're a potential menace, or we need to coddle them and keep them safe and train them and all this stuff. And Wolverine's putting it out there, putting his name on it, saying, calling Steve Rogers up, calling Captain America up, and saying, hey, you tell them to back off from this girl. She's gonna be fine. You know, she's gonna do her own thing, and that was cool. That was cool. Camilla's just an awesome character. I mean, she's just, and here's this old cranky Wolverine trying to give her life lessons about the fact, look, someone's gonna get hurt. It's either going to hurt you, it's going to hurt them, it's going to hurt somebody, and her still going, no, I don't want to accept that. I'm not, and so I'm hoping with good storytelling that might be somewhat of a theme that travels along through this book of, can she do it? Can she figure out how to walk this line of being Jersey's superhero without really hurting anybody and not getting too hurt herself?
Yeah, it is a nice theme that's developing of her own growth and her own defining of things. So at the very end, she gets. Can I spoil it?
Sure, go ahead.
She gets Lockjaw assigned to her.
Right, they're going to send Lockjaw down.
Now that's going to be very interesting because how do you hide this giant dog that's following you around when you're trying to be a normal girl whose parents and everyone else don't know what you're up to?
Yeah, I like the Inhumans, but I don't know lots and lots about them. So I don't know enough about Lockjaw to know. I mean, he's always that big, huge dog, right? I mean, it's not like...
Right. He's always a big, huge dog. He can teleport, and he can teleport other people with him.
Ah, okay.
And he's very strong, I guess. Those are the basically...
Right. I mean, he's so big, it's not like she can hide him under the bed or in her closet. I mean, he's too big for that.
Right.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I just love all the stuff in it, the little things too, the little pieces of, I don't know what you want to call them, pop culture or whatever, where he's like, Wolverine's saying, don't mention this to anybody, and she's like, basically saying, too late, I've already got it all over Instagram, and,
right.
Or whatever the non-trademark version of Instagram is.
This book does really well, and Teen Titans does horribly. They try to throw in a lot of things in the Teen Titans book that are kind of trendy or whatever, and it feels really forced. But it's like seamless in Miss Marvel. It's just perfectly written.
So next issue, do we go back to the artist that was on the book initially?
That's what it says in the back of the book. Yeah, that
Okay.
he'll be back.
I'm perfectly happy with the artist that was in it now too. I mean, I like both versions just fine. I mean, there's even stuff that happens in this book visually that's normally the kind of stuff that bothers me. It flirts with manga, which is and in some of the styles. Like at one point where they're dealing with the the alligator, and she gets the really big eyes, and her nose basically disappears, so she's more cartoony. And
Right.
it actually
That happens on this page too.
right
But
because it's done in such small doses. I don't mind it. It actually works for her. If Wolverine was doing that, I'd be like throwing the book out the window. But with it just her being that way, it seems to work. And like I said, the conversation between this rough Wolverine and her is just hilarious. Her comment on the fact that being stuck down the sewers with the alligators like this thing out of the horror movies, and Wolverine's like, have you watched those? She goes, no. I just imagined that this is like, and he's like, really? That's the worst your imagination could come up with. Kudos to your parents for raising you with your biggest fear is a silly alligator in the sewers as being a horrible thing. So I don't know. It all around great book.
I really want to see this writer put on some more comic books. I mean, she just has such a great touch. She gets the right amount of everything, like you were saying with the manga stuff. She just I just want to see what she can do with other characters.
Yeah.
You know, they
It'll
just
be
brought her in
interesting to
because
see her in the Spider-Man book. So I'm excited about that too. I want to see how she's written by Dan Slott.
And yeah, Camilla's going to be in an issue Spider-Man. Yeah. G. Willow Wilson, the writer of this, she wrote another miniseries for Marvel that was out like a year ago. I am drawing a blank on what it's called. Had 2 female protagonists, kind of a magic realism. But it was part of some group of characters that Marvel owned and just kind of wanted to do something with, so they had her do that. Prior to that, she was writing for Vertigo.
I read one of her Vertigo books.
Did you read Air, or did you read Cairo?
I read Air.
Yeah?
Or part of Air.
Oh.
It was during a period where my focus on comics wasn't so clear.
I liked Air. I have the whole thing, and I got it in trade and kind of kicked myself for not having picked it up in singles as it was coming out. I really enjoyed it. An interesting story, nothing like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nothing like this, but the characters in that I think were good also. I thought she wrote a team up of Metamorpho and Aquaman that was kind of cool too.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Back when they were rebuilding the Outsiders, it was one of those books and whatnot. But yeah, and then like I said, she's just knocking it out of the park as far as just a great, charming, puts a smile on my face to read it kind of a book, and not in a laugh my ass off because it was ridiculous like Superior Foes of Spider-Man, but just that you read the book and you feel good about the person who's attempting to be this hero, and that's cynical me. That's a refreshing thing, I guess. So, for what's that word? Anything else anybody want to say about Ms. Marvel? Everybody go out and get it if you're not getting it. Pick it up and trade.
Yes, sir.
I think sales are really well. I think it hit, like issue number 1 hit over 100,000 copies.
6 printings now.
Yes.
And digitally, and I guess digitally it's even larger than that. I mean, I guess the digital sales of the book are just...
It's their #1 book digitally, supposedly.
Yeah, so
it's reaching out to a much bigger audience than your average book. And hopefully they'll come in and read other comics and not be disappointed.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting is it feels to me like there are other companies that are starting to look at that, and it feels to me like from what I've read and heard about like DC's Gotham Academy and potentially this latest incarnation of Batgirl are going to be closer to this kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see if they actually capture some of that, but I mean, good for them for trying, I think. So Magneto, anybody else reading Magneto? Just me, huh? Wow, okay.
I dropped it after the last issue. I mean, I'm going to pick it up in the trades, but I don't collect it, so I've liked Magneto throughout every issue.
I join Marvel subscriptions, and that's there, so I'll be getting it 2 to 3 months late consistently, it sounds like.
Awesome. I'm still really enjoying it. If you have been reading it, I'm going to say it's more of the same, but I don't mean that to sound like it's just repeating itself, because it's not. It's just continuing on this storyline. The Shield actually catches up with Magneto at this point. He kind of lays some pretty heavy morality on them as they're trying to lay it back on him, kind of a thing, which is interesting. And then towards the end of this, there's kind of an interesting plot twist because he finds this lab that's producing this mutant hormone that people are shooting up and whatnot, and he wipes the entire lab out, obviously as per Magneto typically, but he saves the head cooker of the lab and plans on using him in a fashion that I won't spoil, but sounds like it could be pretty interesting as far as that goes. So really curious to see where that goes. Still really enjoying it. It's been a cool comic. I like this kind of street level Magneto. Has been pretty cool. And Eric from Longbox Review is telling me it's Mystic. Mystic was that miniseries that she wrote for Marvel that I was not able to remember the name of. So Eric saves the day there.
Kudos. Wow.
Any other Marvel books?
Yes. Did anybody else pick up Daredevil?
I get that weeks late.
Oh.
Part of the subscription, eh?
Yeah.
Well, when it arrives, you'll be in for a good one. It feels like it had to diverge with the whole original Sin thing, but Mark Waid pulled out a couple things. And this comic has like 3 main beats to it, and each one is very interesting. Kind of works in some interesting issues, gets you thinking about some different things, larger global stuff, and more human interest, I guess. It's a way to sum it up. It's a really great issue. So Daredevil, I know a lot of people dropped it just because it went up $1, but you're buying out their comics for just as much or more. So.
It's the principle of it.
It certainly seems like Waid has an amazing run to have so many. That Daredevil's still good after all this time that he's been on it.
Oh yeah.
So I look forward to getting that.
How much of that has to do with Samney on art too?
That's a good question.
Well, about none of it in this issue because it's Rodriguez and then Lopez does the inking. So it's good. It's good art. It's just different guy.
Do they credit? Sometimes they credit Samney as a storyteller even when he's not the artist.
In this one, it says storytellers is Waid and Javier Rodriguez, and then it kind of goes down the way.
Okay.
So I guess they're doing that way. So maybe it's a bit more of a collaborative process than your standard comic. I don't know what they're trying to imply with that. So.
I think that Marvel is trying to back the idea that the artist is as much the storyteller as the writer is. Because I know that's been getting bantered around the internet again here lately as to how can you critique a story without and forget to even talk art, because obviously the artist is the person who's actually relaying the story to us other than the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth. And so I think people are feeling like the artists aren't getting enough credit for how much of the storytelling that they're actually doing.
Fair, but I mean, one guy scripted it, one guy did the pencils. Like, I'm not saying one's lesser than the other. I'm just saying that's a notable thing to mention.
Right. I'm just saying. I think that's why they're. I think that's why they're going more to it being a collaborative kind of thing. It being we are the storytellers, not one person being the person who's telling the story, and the other person is just making pretty pictures.
Well, and I think Waid has said publicly that Samney has a lot to do with the stories themselves.
That's cool.
So it may depend a lot, on every different team.
Sure.
How much storytelling is a combined effort, or one strictly does the story and the other strictly the art.
Right. Well, I definitely know there's some artists that have gone on record saying, look, I don't want to have to think this stuff up. I read your script. I'm going to put down what you told me to put down and the way you told me to put it down, and they're happy to do that, and that's how they operate. And then there's other artists who want to have less so they can do more, so they're the ones that are making that movement across the page and whatever. I mean, so obviously, I think it depends on who's doing the work, clearly.
Oh yeah.
Any other Marvel books?
Did anybody pick up the 2 Deadpool books that came out?
Yes! I was going to say, it couldn't be a show if Matt didn't bring up at least one Deadpool issue.
There's 2! And I'm all alone.
How is that possible?
With the sales, I don't know. Statistically, at least one of you should have bought another one.
Is Deadpool entirely $3.99 now, or do they still have a $2.99 one?
$3.99. If you're gonna go, actually, if you're looking for some decent Deadpool, not the best stuff, but this Deadpool Dracula's Gauntlet was the best Deadpool book going, which was a digital first thing. But 7 issues, each one was 2 digital issues, and it and it introduces you to Deadpool's new wife before they got married and how that all came about. Awesome Dracula stuff. I don't know. It was good stuff and better than your average what you're getting with this character anymore. So, but no one else cares.
That's not true. I'm happy to listen.
No, and when you highlight a specific Deadpool, I might seek it out, especially on the Marvel Unlimited app when it gets to that. So it is good for you to talk about it.
Well, and that should go to Marvel Unlimited pretty quick because it's already digital, so they don't really have to.
True.
Although I don't know with the prior digital stuff that they did, if that got there any faster or how that worked.
Yeah, I don't know either. It seems in general everything takes 6 months.
Huh.
So they may just purposefully hold things back for 6 months.
But in this case, is it 6 months from the digital release or the print release?
Yeah, I don't know that either.
Yeah. So, well,
But I like
But-
Dracula, so Deadpool and Dracula. If you say it's worth reading, then I would definitely give it a shot.
yeah, it's a fun one. And then skip the Deadpool versus X-Force, which is one of the worst comics that makes me question a lot about what I'm buying and what I'm doing with my life.
Wow. Don't. I bet you that doesn't make it into print as an endorsement.
The way they do Deadpool stuff, you'd be surprised.
That's
Well, if
funny.
they paraphrase you and say, this issue made me question my entire life.
Like, right. Out of context, that might be a good thing. That would make me question whether wow, maybe I should be getting that book.
You'd be like, Matt, I'm never taking your recommendation again after
No,
reading.
not ever. Hunt you down. Oh, yikes. Any other Marvel books you want to talk about? No. Marvel news? Marvel anything like that?
Was there any
Mar-
Marvel news? Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Marvel news-wise, as I've mentioned a couple times with S.H.I.E.L.D., it'd be interesting to see how the show goes because they are going to throw in the Absorbing Man this next series. They got Brian Patrick Wade as him, and then the young lady who was the Wonder Woman in the TV series. They are going to bring her in as Mockingbird. So, and Xena's been brought in this year, and so I think they are trying to do everything they can to put it to make it a better season than the first year, which they have to against the Flash and Green Arrow. So
Moving in some more superhero-oriented type stuff, superpower stuff.
it seems that way, yeah. So it's probably capturing the criminals that escaped at the end and getting back the weapons and powers and that kind of stuff. So they have to step out of what they were before.
Well,
I like the actress that's going to play Mockingbird, so I'll probably tune in for the beginning of the second season anyway.
All right.
And last 15 minutes and be done probably. But
Yeah.
Where does Mockingbird come from? I can't place her.
She is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who married Clint Barton, Hawkeye,
Black Canary
and yeah,
with sticks.
with sticks, yeah. So yeah, she doesn't have any magic powers. It's all fighting and that kind of stuff, and just being a good S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So
Yeah, Mockingbird was, in the Avengers, in the West Coast Avengers, I believe. She was with Hawkeye quite a bit. They were, I mean, in recent years it seems like they've kind of, they've tied in a lot more Black Widow and Hawkeye. In my brain, though, in the 80s and whatnot, it was always Mockingbird and Hawkeye. And they were, to me, in my head, they were always the mirror of Green Arrow and Black Canary. I mean, they were, not exactly the same, but awfully darn close.
I could see that.
Kind of a deal. So,
and possibly bringing in Mockingbird, they could bring in the Skrulls, because she was one of the people that was abducted and undercover for a while. So
They
Actually,
won't do
the
that.
Skrulls would make a great villain in a TV series because you can have a long reveal of what they're up to.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Let's talk some indie books. That's what I got the most of this week. So,
Oh yeah.
what do I want to talk first? Indie books.
Travis, since I know that you get it, the Life After.
Yeah.
After reading this one, I think this is my last issue of the Life After.
Really?
Okay. Why is that?
The reveal on who this the main character, not Hemingway, but the other guy who just woke up, Jude.
Right.
Explaining who Jude is, the son of, more of what they're saying, on, or I guess more of what I'm interpreting as to what is happening behind the scenes. It seems to be going in a direction that I don't think I care to follow. So.
Okay. James, what'd you think?
I'm the opposite. I really liked it. I like where it's going. I like the art. I like kind of seeing how it has all that behind the scenes stuff and the I don't know, the office of the afterlife. Those people look pretty cool to me.
Yeah. I even like Hemingway in this.
Oh yeah, definitely like them.
I mean, I just him kind of continuously going over as, of course, our main character is trying to come to terms with the fact that he's basically in some version of suicide purgatory, where this is where all the people go who kill themselves, but he doesn't remember having killed himself, and all these people keep jumping off of bridges and all this crazy stuff, and then they're being hunted by some other larger monster. I'm digging it. It's just fun. I'm really curious about, he sees this, what he thinks the real world is like, and it seems to be full of gross, blobular, demon kind of things, and decides the place is bad and it needs to be shut down. How he's going to go about doing that, though, I'm really curious, and I want to know more of his motivation as to why he suddenly has this urge to shut this down when, our first introduction to the character was he was so generally sedate and just going through the motions, and to suddenly, him change, I'm curious about that. I'm digging it. Anytime you're gonna show up where one of the main bad guys is a giant blob that's just covered in mouths, so it looks like a Shuggoth, I'm all over that, I guess. So I don't know. The cover to issue number 3 screams, "Why are you not picking this book up? Come on."
Yeah.
It's a bunch of mouths, horns, and big toes. How can you not think that's cool?
I guess because of what I'm seeing with the spread, Devlers, and possibly Outcast. I guess when I got to this one, we think we found your son, and well, sir, he's fucking everything up again.
Right.
At that point, I read that and I went, I just don't think that's where I want to go with this, and I think it's a personal choice on, it just because I think I'm seeing this in the spread, Devlers, and all that. That's, I guess, and I could always grab it off the shelf if I decide, but I don't know. I guess right now it doesn't seem like that's where I want it to go.
Right. And I get that. If you've got a bunch of books that kind of are going on the same seemingly paths, after a while you're going to pick something or not pick something, for sure.
Yeah, for me, I'm dropping.
Whose son is he turning out to be?
This massive blob thing that Travis showed you at the end.
We don't know. See, while this stuff's going on in this guy's life, there's part of the plot, part of the story is there's these people in the background. They're basically in an office, in a dark office with a whole bunch of radar scopes and computers, and they're kind of manipulating the world and the universe and everything in it. They're controlling all the environments and making people go through these motions. We don't know exactly why that is yet. If you're
They're like controlling that.
Right. So, I mean, I guess in this day and age, you consider those people maybe to be the bad guys because that's kind of the corporate world, machine thing. We're not 100% sure that's the case. but that's kind of implied. Or at least I'd assume they're bad guys because who wants to have their entire lives manipulated for them, right? So this all is going on in the background, and this Jude character keeps screwing with their logarithms. They've got everything down to a mathematical. This is how everything's going to happen, and for some reason, he seems to be an affront to that. He can mess with it. They can set things in place that this is the direction everybody should go, and somehow he can turn and walk off in another direction. He's like out of the program, kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
And so as these people are recording this stuff, this phenomenon going on, they kind of like look at each other and kind of go, "Oh shit, is this what we think it is?" And the head director's like, "Yep." So he like basically does the equivalent of going upstairs, and he goes out and walks through all these stairs and whatnot, and gets to this door. It looks like a typical office door. On the office door on the glass, it's the Omega sign. He opens up and walks through, and then he has this conversation that Mike was talking about, where he goes, "Sir, we've got a problem. We think we found your son, and he's screwed stuff up. And this is what Dad looks like. That blob right there with the pipes stuck to it and all the mouths and eyes, that's the boss."
Uh-huh. So my initial suspicion that this character's Judas is probably not on the right track.
The computer guys made me think of Cabin in the Woods. And the, like you said, the one guy who's going against the whole programming then also gives you that Matrix feel. I think I'm getting upset that it felt like it was too many of this story, that story, this one, to make their story.
Mm.
So, I think that's the only thing that's burning me right now.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean that's why I didn't stick with the spread, because it felt kind of familiar to me. So I understand that completely.
Well, I do too. That's like Nail Biter. I dropped it because it just felt like another serial killer book. It wasn't giving me enough of something different. That wasn't like Bedlam. That wasn't like some of the others. And so I've just kind of I'm done reading those for now until somebody gives me something that's way off, way different. And so I completely get that. I'm not getting all those other books. This is the only one that I'm getting like that. So I'm happy, to get it and read it and see what it's going to say.
And I have to admit, as somebody who I sometimes will not read something because I'm worried it's going to be too much like a storyline that I'm not crazy about, but I just went out and picked up some Cowls because of everything you've discussed, and yeah, I read it, and now I love it. I mean, it was too much judgment in the front, so that's why I gave this one a chance. I'm definitely going to listen to you and James on your thoughts, and I'll pick it up if I need to. Again, so.
Yeah. Cool. What other indie books we pick up that we want to talk about?
Manifest Destiny.
Yep.
Ooh.
How is Manifest Destiny? Hello, Quacking Duck.
Hello.
I had my microphone off so you guys could keep talking while I talk.
Okay.
Quacking Duck, but you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi.
Hello.
It's pretty close to her bedtime.
Oh, okay. So Manifest Destiny.
James? Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I like the alternate history. I like how they the monsters and stuff they run into, the dynamic between the like the prisoners and the soldiers. I like how Sacagawea is like the badass of the group and can kick everybody's butt. And there's nothing I don't like about it, I don't think.
And Travis, I don't know if you wrote a letter to him, but this issue, the villain or the prisoner that you don't like, they're like, "Oh, we thought you'd be more like this," and he goes, "No, I'm gonna lay low, and eventually there'll be more prisoners than soldiers, and then we'll do something." So I think they're gonna downplay that prisoner now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They need to kill him. They need to kill him. Tell me when that issue happens, and maybe I'll pick that one up.
I will.
Here's the cover of issue 10 that's supposed to be That's the one you're talking about, I believe.
Yeah, that sleazy little sucker. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't look too healthy in that picture, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the artist. I don't know who the artist is on this. Matthew Roberts. I really enjoy the art in this.
Does he color the book also? I mean, is he the all-around artist?
He's a penciler inkist, yeah, but not the colorist.
See, I think the color has a lot to do with that. At least for me, anyway, I really like the kind of the rosy cheeks, the reddish nose. It has that kind of classic illustrated kind of a look to it that I do really like that about the book. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that is a lot of it is the colors. It gives it that feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because was it you or Sleepy in one of your guys' videos in the last couple of weeks mentioned you mentioned the same artist with two different like colorist or inkist and how that changed everything?
Colorist. It's colorist. It was Black Science and that last Batman issue. Same artist on it, and how different the art looks depending on who was coloring it, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing I do wonder about with this is the pacing. You know, of course, I'm all the way up here in South Dakota, so I'm going to stick with it till they reach me. But it is interesting to think. I think they're just in Louisiana right now.
2 years from now, yeah. As I say, they're at the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, they're either in St. Louis or they're in Louisiana, and it just makes me wonder how long. How long is this going to be? Is it if they're just killing monsters week after week? If they're just slowly losing people? You know, is it Walking Dead then? Is it just this long march?
Well, see, when I first started getting the book, that's what I was thinking too, because I literally live where Lewis and Clark went through. I live in a town that's named after one of the guys. So seriously, and the town next to me is named after the other one. So I was like, well, this is gonna be cool. At some point, they're gonna literally, be camping, at my house.
Yeah.
So. But you're right. At the rate they're going, it's going to be 6 years before they get anywhere near me, which I guess is cool if you're digging the book, So.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I'll be curious. I am kind of itching to pick that book back up again. I keep hearing cool stuff about it, and there were lots of stuff I liked about it. There were just some key things that also made my skin crawl and irritated me. So I don't know.
You get that from it, though. I mean. I remember, I think we talked about it before, Travis, and there is some kind of like skeezy things that happen.
Yes.
And,
yeah. I mean, I get it's the story, I get it's the era to some degree and whatnot, but when it agitates me to that degree, that's time for me not to read the book. So it is why I ended up quit reading it. But.
Yeah, because it is tough. I mean, there was some nightmares that. One of them had about, attacking Native Americans. They did touch on slavery with one of the guys, because they're like, aren't you a possession of this guy? And he's like, yeah, but it's not exactly like that. So it is tough because it's in that era. It's in the toughest, roughest time socially for us,
Yeah. So, what next? What do we want to talk about?
Can we tell you before she goes about our favorite comic book this week?
Awesome, yes.
Yes.
It was Little Nemo in Slumberland.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not joking, it was also my favorite comic book this week. It was really
definitely.
good. You want to tell them what you thought about it?
It was really great. The only part I didn't like is that they didn't get to Slumberland in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right, they'll be getting to Slumberland next issue.
Next issue?
And when we realized it's not going to be till October when next issue comes out.
Yeah,
wow.
Those are the only things I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Rodriguez from Lock and Key.
I think this is going to be like a mini classic of comics for a while. So, anything else you want to
I really like it, and it just accidentally got in my mouth. And this is really good, and I really wanted to show this to you. This is great.
Yeah. So you read it too, Mike?
Yes. Originally, I was like, well, I'm going to buy this, give it to my nephews, nieces. Now I'm not. It's mine. I will buy a trade for them. But yeah, unfortunately, I read Lock and Key. I know how Rodriguez takes a long time to do his art. So beautiful, and boy, are you going to have to wait for it.
Yeah. It's definitely worth it though because it is so incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
I completely missed this book. I mean, I had no idea that it was coming out or anything about it. And it just anything I've seen about it is just absolutely look at that huge spread.
Yeah.
It's just
Is it an issue
One
one?
with the
Or...
color too. I forget who the colorist is. Nelson Daniel.
yes, that's the first issue, James.
Okay.
And in
It
the
is-
back, they show you a bunch of pencils, which are also beautiful to look at, and they have some of the script. So it's a really nice package. I think because we're going to read it over and over again as a kid. I think I'm going to buy myself another issue to save because I just love it so much.
Because you got the variant cover too, didn't you?
Is that the variant cover? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, because here's
Oh
the
yeah, that's a nice
original.
cover. So
Yeah,
I'll
'cause I hadn't seen that one. Yeah, the one I seen was the one that Mike has there with the moon on it.
Yeah, in my
So
comic shop,
I'll-
they actually have them staggered, variant, regular.
So is that IDW? Is that what it looks?
Yes.
IDW.
I
So-
check that out.
Not for people who only want superheroes, but if you're into comic book art in general, I think it's just a fabulous book.
Yeah.
You want to take this up and read it at bedtime with Bonnie?
Want to know the storyline? The return to Slumberland is because the princess needs a friend and has decided to pick a kid who sleeps. Nemo is the middle name of this child, and every night they visit him and pull him.
Good night.
Good night, Quacky Duck.
She's not very happy about having to go.
Oh, I know.
But each night they pull him a little closer to Slumberland. So yeah, like she mentioned, they don't get to Slumberland. Nemo finally gets to the very gate and then wakes up. So it is a cute story. Yeah.
And lots of nice callbacks to the way the original Nemo comics worked without repeating what it is. But every one-page Little Nemo comic strip used to end with him falling out of bed and waking up.
Right.
And so they put that into the comic, but within the context of a larger story.
Cool.
I had not read the original Nemo, so it's good to hear that. But as somebody who didn't read it, you pick it up and you just love the storyline. It's great to know that there's more out there. So.
The original is, it was published in like 1905 on giant newspaper pages covering a whole page.
Oh.
And it would come out every Sunday and just be another surreal trip with Little Nemo for a page. So it was maybe the first, really mind-blowing sequential art that came out. I mean, I know the Yellow Kid came before it, but I think that Little Nemo really has made much more of an impression on people who are into the history of comic art.
That book looks really cool. I'm hoping I'm going to the chain store tomorrow. I'm kind of hoping that they'll have a copy there. I doubt it, but that's too far. That's too far removed from Deadpool for them to have. But you never know. You never know.
You can get some Deadpool while you're there, then.
Yeah, I couldn't I? Awesome. Okay, so what other indie books do you want to talk about?
Is anybody getting Delinquents?
What is that?
It is Archer.
I did.
Archer. Oh, excellent.
Archer and Armstrong, yeah.
Yeah, and then Woody and Quantum and
Woody?
Woody. Yep.
Okay.
So it's all four of them telling two sides of a story where they are hunting for. I saw Jen had posted some pictures of this. The hobos map and it's on a pair of somebody's old pants. So it's just the butt of the pants, and it's been split in half, and they each have half of the map. But they haven't met each other yet, so they're separately going to this adventure.
I thought it was the skin of a butt when Jen posted it online. So it's the pants. Okay.
Yeah.
That's less disturbing, at least.
Yeah.
Because with the shorts, they do show it was kind of wild dogs grabbing it. It had a hole, so it did look, I guess, more like somebody's butt. But, it's fun. It was, oh gosh, I thought it's just a fun read, which I guess is, I'm not reading Quantum and Woody, just Archer and Armstrong, but from what I hear, it's all just fun books.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Jen, are you reading the Quantum and Woody that they're putting out?
This is the first time I've ever picked up either of these. That's why I picked it up, because I thought, oh, they're doing a crossover. I'll just check, see if I like them.
Okay.
And yeah, this is just a mini, right?
Yes, I think it's going to be, I don't remember if it says how many issues, 6 or so, but it's 4 or 6. But Archer and Armstrong, they're a fun read each week. I mean, it's, I guess, the balanced version of Deadpool. I mean, it's just a fun read. You just enjoy it. So I've liked the story. And each time I go to try and tell Travis and them about it, it is a little weird to try and say, because it's like, they're traveling through time and they pull jokes on themselves and they're trying to make this machine, and they meet Jimi Hendrix, who's in charge of this religion, who keeps people from dying because they are famous, and being famous is the only thing that keeps them alive. It's things like that. It's almost impossible to talk about the story because it's non sequitur.
And is that the one that Christopher Priest came back for? Or is that elsewhere in the Valiant?
I'm not sure about that. I'd have to dig through to see.
Who wrote it, I guess?
James Asmus.
Oh, so it's Asmus, not...
I think they're rebooting Quantum and Woody and then bringing Priest on to do it then.
Okay, because
My impression.
that might be enough to get me back.
Christopher Priest was he the creator of Quantum and Woody?
Yeah, he was the original creator, and it was because of that book that he brought him on to do Deadpool, and when they brought him on to do Deadpool, that's when a lot of the way people understand Deadpool now actually came into existence, so that's probably why you're getting that connection.
All right. Yep.
So you have a very keen eye.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Nice.
Oh, and if you want to jump on the crossover Delinquents, you can, because I don't think it really ties into anything else. I think it's meant to be just a pick up and enjoy read.
Yeah, I loved it, and I never picked them up before.
Cool. Let's talk Fade Out, or The Fade Out. I gotta make sure I call it The Fade Out. Good chunk of us picked that back up. So this is the new Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, issue number 1. What did we think? How many of you read Fatale? I know James did. Read it in trade, right?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the last trade to come out. But that's
okay.
why I got on this, was because I feel like I should have got on the singles and Fatale.
Mm-hmm.
I read the first 2 trades of Fatale and then decided to wait for all the trades to come out and read them all together.
Nice. Yeah. I was just curious. Not that has anything to do with this, other than the same creative force on this. That's why I'm at the point now where, until they really steer me wrong, whatever these guys are doing, I'm going to be picking it up in singles probably.
Yeah, I loved this. It's amazing to think that a book like this is kind of a big selling comic book at the moment. It just shows the power of Image and the power of indie comics, that something like this, that's about screenwriters in the 1940s and things like that is a major book with no fantastic element or anything.
It's awesome. It's awesome that it feels to me like maybe more of the world of comics is opening up to either a larger audience or those people who have been so focused on just superheroes are starting to go, hey, I might actually be interested in reading something besides just superheroes that's in a comic book format. So that, to me, that's just great. This issue, #1 issue, I think kind of hits all the right bells, doesn't it, as far as setting up a story to make us go, where's it going to go and what's next?
Yeah, I don't even know a lot to say about it. I really enjoyed it. I love the art. This very interesting characters, all a little bit of a cliche from a certain kind of movie, but everything done with a little twist that's unique to these creators, that makes it feel fresh and interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're definitely trying to hit an atmosphere with the book. The era that it's set in, set in LA, set in the early 40s, or sometime.
It must be the 50s actually, because they talk about the
bombing of Pearl Harbor.
For some reason, I thought this was set in 48. I don't know why I got that idea.
I thought it said 47. So.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking. It was the end of the 40s, somewhere around there. But anyway, that era, and it definitely has a noir. I mean, that's kind of their thing,
right.
and so if you don't like that, I don't think you'll enjoy the book if you're not into that kind of thing, because they're definitely with this at least this first issue, they kind of really hit the whole thing on the nail on the head. The only thing about it is it's told from kind of this one screenwriter's viewpoint as opposed to a detective, because typically the noir story seems to be told from a detective standpoint, but. Right. This screenwriter feels like he's going to fill that role because he's the one that's trying to put together this mystery. He's woken up in a bathtub after having been at a party on some wild drinking bender, and he doesn't even know where he's at, whose house he's at. Discovers a dead body of a screen actress who is obviously been choked to death seemingly, and he goes about hiding that there's any knowledge of him being there, and also him trying to figure out what really happened. And so you get this whole cover-up thing going on. And,
right, it's a world where everyone is lying and covering up and hiding things.
Right.
But it's done just right. I mean, it's really hard. I think something like this could be really hard to do, and yet they managed to make this such a fascinating issue.
Right, because that to some degree that's kind of a stereotype, isn't it? Some kind of a trope. Oh, it's L.A. It's the movies. It's the big companies. Of course, everybody's sleeping with everybody and everybody's hiding everything and whatnot. And they imply all that and they say all that, but they do it in a way that seems acceptable without it being like you're going, oh, this thing again, kind of a thing. So.
Right, and every character feels real, even though they're part of this cliche.
Right.
Backdrop.
Yeah, and there's just some little details in it that I think are great and whatnot that I thought were kind of interesting. I actually really like the very end when he reaches into his pocket and he pulls that rag out, and what the rag really is I don't know, to me it was just like this flashback moment as he realized what he has in his hand, and back to the whole. I mean, we still don't even know how he got there. What's his whole play in the thing? I don't know.
Well, he would be the primary suspect if there was a detective involved.
Oh, heck yeah. They cared, yeah. Yeah, so I'm curious. I'm curious to see where the story's going to go. Is this going to eat at him and he thinks he needs to look into it farther, or is there going to be more different devious stuff going on, or exactly what that all plays out? I don't know. But I absolutely love the art. I mean, for me, I'm just kind of entranced with the style that they put out. So.
Hey guys, I have to go for a little bit. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk some other books that I don't think Damien picks up. BPRD, Hell on Earth.
Yeah.
Nobody else does either. Oh.
Yeah. Oh no, Jen's getting it.
I do.
So never mind.
What'd you think, Jen? I mean, they put on the cover of this one, this is a great jumping on point if you're a new reader. You're not totally new, but you kind of are.
Yeah. I don't know. I really enjoyed the book. There was a lot of action in it, but it didn't feel, I don't know, it felt interesting.
Mhm. I'm curious that it says.
And
I'm curious. It says it's a jumping on point. To me, I don't know that this is any kind of a jumping on point. I mean, it's a jumping on point for a new
Yeah.
story. It's a jumping on point for a kind of a fresh story, but it's not a jumping on point that's going to tell you what the hell's going on in the world as a
yeah,
whole.
not at all. Not at all.
You know, I mean,
Not at all.
if you had no idea what was going on, and this was the first one you picked up, that whole them racing away from the monsters, and Jonah trying to do a
Right.
broadcast from Japan, that would all be kind of what the hell is going on.
Well, that's what happened to me though when I jumped on to begin with. So I guess
Right.
I'm just used to it now.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
And I
Ah.
kind of knew what's going on because of previous issues. But
Yeah. Yep.
I thought it was cool. I liked the whole stuff down in the science lab, and that guy was like, his consciousness was kind of half in another dimension or whatever, and he's drawing that same picture over and over. That was
Right.
pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I'm not criticizing the book other than them advertising that it's a jumping on point. That's the only thing that I thought was curious about it. I like the
Yeah, I
story.
don't know.
It was exciting at the beginning where, we got these, 3 guys are trying to find this address because supposedly these people are going to help them. They get there and that's not really what it's about anymore. And yeah, you've got this old guy sitting in a chair cranking out picture after picture of this monster and the whole weird quantum physics that went on to create the situation where his conscious is in another dimension someplace. And the whole breakout. And of course, at the end of this, like a lot of these issues end, it's just gotten worse. You think it can't get any worse, it's just gotten worse. Not only do they have all the monsters that are storming around Earth as it is, now there's a whole other monster from another dimension that's busted out that they're going to have to deal with. It's just like, these people can't catch a break as far as that kind of stuff goes. So, I don't know.
No.
I
Travis,
really enjoyed it as usual. Yes, sir.
is that issue 122? Is that what I saw?
Yes.
All right. Do you think
Yeah.
that's also? I mean, the good part about putting good jumping on point is, I mean, they're not going back to number ones. They're not making you, as a reader who's been there forever, start all over again with another, Avengers 1.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
guess it's the most shallow part of the pool to jump into to start. But
Yes, I mean it's the beginning of a story arc because if you don't know where there's a story arc, this is the beginning of a story arc. The larger picture that's going on, that's been going on for probably 30 issues.
Yeah.
We're still somewhere in the middle of whatever that is.
all right.
As far as that goes. Not that you have to know a lot to kind of get that. You very quickly figure out that there's basically a very horrific apocalypse going on, and the Earth and everybody on it is really screwed. And this 3 or 4 handfuls of people are doing their damnedest to try and fight as much of it as they can, but it feels kind of like a lost cause in some sense. It doesn't take very long to figure that part of it out. Then it's just a matter of reading and figuring out who the characters are, because as different stories develop under this larger umbrella, there's new characters. I mean, these characters, I know the names of some of them I've never heard of before. You just kind of quickly learn what their personalities are and what they're dealing with. And this is a new thing they're dealing with while the greater picture is going on. So it is a jumping on point as far as this is where a new story arc's at. You can jump in here, but I just want to let people know that there's still this bigger machine that's going on. This whole world has not stopped and started up for this story. That
Yeah.
the world's still going on. Everything else is still happening everywhere, while this little piece of the story is happening. So,
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're trying to get some new people, because I know it would be scary to me to think about jumping on at
Sure.
122. And I know that Matt is another, start from one kind of guy. So
right. Well, and you're not the only one. I mean, Scott Constant Bromstar mentioned on a video when I was talking about Abe Sapien that he would really kind of like. He's interested in the Hellboy universe and the Magnolia universe. Exactly.
I gotta
Do it
work
like-
through this first.
yeah,
Do it like Matt's doing it right there.
yeah.
And seriously, that's the way to do it. I would say go get those trades. It's an awesome universe, and it's really cool. But I get it. It's daunting to look at that and go 122 issues in, and it's not. You hear anybody talk about it, and it's not. It's not like there's this story and then it's cleanly done and it's all over with. That stuff is still there. It's still part of the history. It gets brought up. What happened to Hellboy or Abe Sapien or Liz Sherman? That stuff stays with them for forever, just like it does real people. I mean, if something traumatic happened in your life, you don't just, a month from now, at least normal people don't, a month from now forget about it and it's no big deal. It still haunts them, and so therefore it comes into play as it moves along, which to me that's good writing. That's cool. I think it makes a far more interesting, long-term serialized story. But the downside to it is where do you get your foot in at? Besides going back and picking up the first trades and reading through.
All right.
Which is what I say do. Do that. You'll read it. You'll be so hooked you'll have to go pick up singles.
All right.
What else did we pick up for independent books? I'm not sure when Damien's going to be back.
Since nobody else reads it, Dr. Spectre.
Oh yeah, is issue 2?
What is that?
Issue 3. This one was a month late, and this is where they're crossing into the Robot Hunter and Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, and Adam, the Last Man, evidently there is some bigger thing that's going on, so that's why they're tying them all together. Spectre is basically almost gone a little crazy, I guess, and he's decided that he wants this one woman from his past. They don't want him to be near her, so he's destroyed reality, and this is what it's all about, is fixing the reality that they're in. So it is good. I think I'm going to stick with it. I think I'll put it on my pull list. I was worried it was going to be this involved crossover with all the other books that you have to get, but it looks like it's just touching on them. It doesn't look like it'll reflect in any of their books. So.
Cool.
It was all right.
Cool. That sounds fun.
Originally, I mean, the first couple stories where he's like a mixture of Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, where he has a reality show and he buys all these gadgets and trinkets and magic juju to expose fake magicians, to kill vampires.
Well,
he uses a saddle.
Yeah, he uses an orbital satellite, right, to fry a vampire at one point?
Fry a vampire, yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're like, well, what about all these little trinkets that you dropped? He goes, oh, those are fake. Just pick up the jade. The jade's the only real thing that helps with vampires.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, he's basically the Tony Stark of magic, so it was good.
So what else do we want to talk about?
Did anybody else pick up the Turtles annual that came out?
I did not.
No.
I
dropped
thinking
Turtles.
more pizza.
Well, if you love Jack Kirby and the influences of him on the comic industry, this particular annual, it's a $8 annual beast.
Wow.
It's one of those.
Woo!
But it's
$8.
well, it's a trade. It's like
Mini
an
trade.
oversized issue.
It's square bound. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. But it's basically black and white throughout most of it.
$8 for black and white.
Yeah.
there is the CD in the middle, and it's Vanilla Ice. Go Ninja, go.
Okay, that might make it worth it.
I already have that song memorized.
The
You know,
dance moves too.
I did. But yeah, everybody should read Turtles. Your weekly reminder.
I tried.
Fair enough.
You guys already talked about The Wicked and the Divine?
No, have not
No.
yet. I was waiting for you to come back before we talked about some of those. I knew you got those. So, The Wicked and the Divine.
Yeah, I was going to drop it, and then I was craving more indie books. And this is definitely very indie, so I decided to grab it. And I
dropped it
didn't
on the
really
issue.
understand this issue very much. It had a lot of cool images, like the woman's head and the bird.
The Morgan's head, right?
Does she regain a body sort of
Yes.
magically at some point? And I didn't quite
Yes.
follow that.
Yes.
Her head gets reattached, basically.
It sort of happens off panel, so it's confusing.
Well,
Well, no,
what's her name is holding the head, and the
Yeah.
red-haired version of the Morgan forces it back to forces her body back into existence. Is what it seemed to me.
But it kind of happened like here. There's her head. She has no body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess her body is appearing here.
Right. Her body's attached.
But I didn't really, it was only
'Cause-
later I realized, wait a minute, now she has a body, and then I was like,
Because-
that's the person.
Because the redhead closes her eyes and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's when her
Yeah.
power kicks off.
So even though I've read all 3 issues, I've missed a lot, and so I didn't. I don't know. I love the way this book looks, but I really have trouble connecting to it.
Yeah, I had the first 2 issues. I got those, and I didn't pick up this one. Decided to go ahead and drop it.
There's an interesting scene near the end where I guess it's the lawyer interviewing Lucifer.
That
Lucy.
that isn't the lawyer though, right? That's that's the reporter.
That's her.
There's no-
Yeah.
Oh, the reporter. Okay.
And she's not interviewing him. She's asking questions of the girl, right? The other girl.
Well, they're
And
trying.
she's-
Yeah, they're trying to figure out who their suspect is for having blown up the judge. They're going down the list of gods
Right.
or godlings, trying to figure out. So you're getting an introduction to these gods and godlings in some sense, without actually seeing them or having them do anything. By at least through the filter of Lucifer, the
Right.
Lucy, you're getting her filter of what she thinks of these people, and getting more of an idea of what Lucy's like.
Yeah, that was a cool scene, except now that as you talk about it as an introduction, I wish I saw what each person looked like as she was mentioning her so I could later make the connection.
Right.
It's just
Because
this
that's
is made
Bale.
for smarter people than me or something.
Because that's Bale there at the end, right? At the very end of the book, coming in saying, if you're going to talk behind my back, you better make sure you're behind my back.
Have we seen him before, or is that the first time we've seen him?
Yes, we've seen him. He was on camera at one point when they first arrest Lucy. There's like I believe, if I remember correctly, because of course it's been a few months. They talked to him briefly, and he's got kind of an attitude of, he's kind of like, screw you. I mean, somebody's taking shots at us. It's about time we start taking shots back. It was kind of, he seemed to be pretty hostile in some sense, if I remember correctly. This will be one of those books that after 5 or 6 issues are out, I believe I will be turning back around and I'll go back and I'll be reading it again. I'm enjoying it. I love the artwork. I love the stylization of the book, and the way it delivers certain images and whatnot. I really enjoy. I will agree that sometimes it feels overcomplicated, or it's being so hip that I missed something.
Right.
And I don't know how much of that has to do with I've got gray hair, and so I'm not catching some of that stuff. How much of that is that I'm just not, because I know the book is very personal, and I know that when these guys work on their own stuff, and even when they're working for Marvel for that matter, they can sometimes veer off into their own little personal world. And I want to say I'm going to use inside joke, even though they're not jokes, but that kind of that
Right.
inside, like they and their friends have this own kind of language and philosophy of the world and talking about stuff, and they're putting that into a comic book. And so I don't always catch. I believe I'm not catching it always all the time, but I feel like I catch enough of it that I'm enjoying it, and I'm interested. I guess. I love the idea of the book, that there's these quote unquote immortals walking around, but they're not immortal because obviously at some point they all burn out and then get recycled and come back, it seems, at some other point. So there's that whole aspect of it, and then there's this whole, you got Lucy in jail because they all believe she, fried a judge.
Right, and so I'm I mean, at that very basic level, I'm not clear if they have very much powers that, could Lucy just get out of jail?
Yeah, it seems to me like she technically could if she wanted to. I mean, they can blow people up at will.
I don't understand the full context here of whether they have incredible powers or whether they really just have a few little things.
Blowing somebody,
snap her fingers and kill people.
Snapping your fingers and killing people, to me, that qualifies as being pretty significant power.
Right.
Can she change the world? I don't think she can do that. But obviously, looking at
snap her fingers and make the wall explode and walk out the room.
Right. Well, and looking at some of these other people, the Morgan has like 3 personalities. She switches into that kind of punk girl with a top knot kind of thing, and her name is like Alice or something like that, and she heals that that policeman that just the panel before they barbecued. I mean, the red-haired Morgan who's pissed off burns him up, and then they heal him and act like, oh no, just joking, he's not really hurt. So obviously, some of them have they have life and death powers.
Right. I guess. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get it, but I want them to define at what level we're dealing with here. I want them to make it easier for me to figure out who each character is when they reappear and stuff.
Right. I don't think you're going to get a defined, have the level of strength of Hulk or have the level of strength of Wolverine. I don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not going to. I don't think you're ever going to get that. I think that's always going to be kind of a not really lucid open place. So we're not going to be able to go, well, I know that Lucy can do this, so there's no worry about her in this situation. I don't think we're ever going to get that clearly defined out of the book. I'd be surprised.
Because I have trouble feeling, well, first of all, I don't know whether I care about Lucy, and I have trouble worrying about her being in jail. She's a god, and I don't know. It's almost like it's hard to relate. It's hard to care about what the results will be when it's too vague.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm not so much. I mean, I'm interested, but I'm not worried or invested necessarily in Lucy being in jail as much as I'm more interested in our seemingly human character who's somehow managed to inject herself into these people's world because that's where she kind of wants to be, and her experience with all this, what seems to be chaos, but it obviously has some formal dance to it that we don't know the steps yet that's going on. This whole play that goes on in the underworld amongst these deities that are down there with this club and whatnot, and them kind of attacking each other but not attacking each other. That whole, I felt like I watched a modern version of some piece of Shakespeare that I don't completely get because because Old English is hard to read and completely understand without having to pick it over. So it has that same sense. So not that I'm comparing it to Shakespeare, but that same sort of feeling I get when I read Shakespeare. So I'm enjoying that and I'm interested in that. I did love the scene where she gets arrested and she gets home and she has that whole experience with her family, and she really doesn't. That to me felt very real, like a young adult, late teen person's experience with their family. I really wish you'd crack down on me, but at the same time, I really want you just to kind of go away. That whole, I can remember feeling like that as a youth, I guess, and I like that scene in there. That's the character I think is most interesting in this, is just kind of seeing this all through her lens of what does it all mean.
Right, and that makes the most sense as a way. How did you feel about this issue, Jen? Did you like it as much as the others? I think you've been liking this.
I liked the issue. I thought it was a fun issue. There were some things that were kind of confusing for me in the language, kind of like Travis said. I do like the musical touches, like 1, 2, 3, 4 snap, stuff like that for their powers. I think that's kind of cute. And I don't know, there are a lot of just, I don't know. I'm not sure I like the redheaded Morgan thing, and I wasn't even sure if that was the same person when she turned into the girl that healed. But now Travis cleared that up for me.
Yeah, I wasn't totally sure about that either.
Yeah, I did realize that I thought there were just two personalities, but now I get that there were three. But I'm still interested in it. I want to see where it goes. I don't know. I can't remember back to why Lucy stayed in jail. There was a reason for it, I think, but I don't remember what it was. I don't know. Maybe it would just cause a problem for them if they were to use their power,
Well, yeah, there's something about the person. There's the older woman that's like kind of giving them their powers or something like that, or is in charge of the whole thing. There was something about if she just busted herself out of jail and did whatever, that she'd be in even more trouble. And it's like the one person none of them want to be in trouble with is this kind of caretaker of the whole thing. If I remember correctly, that kind of seemed to be why she's where she's at and staying there, as opposed to just blowing the wall and walking away.
Right.
Is that it would get them in trouble with this person that none of them seem to actually want to be in trouble with. This is one of those ones where, this is easy for us to say, I guess, a lot. I think this would be much more solid in trade because you'd be able to sit down and read this whole thing, consume it all. This is my first experience with this kind of their personal work in a single format. The other stuff, the phonogram, which I really love that stuff too. If you do like this stuff, I would say go read that. Those are great trades. I read those in trades, and I really enjoyed them that way. But if I had read them in singles, I think I would be more frustrated with how the pace seems to be really slow, right? I mean, it's just kind of it's like something that's very slowly filling up with, a canister that's filling up with water, but it's filling up from the bottom, so you don't even see it filling up, but it is. It's just hard to tell that's happening until it reaches a point that, oh wow, it's full. It's kind of how it feels to me like this story is running and how they tell a story. It's not for everybody though. This is one of those books that I would be nervous to recommend to people. Just not that it's crazy or really out there. It's just it's almost hipster without. I mean, it's
yeah.
And hipster's not the word I want to use, but it's almost too cool for its own good. It's almost too, like I said, it feels like I'm on the outer edges of a group of people who have their own language and way of talking about the stuff I should know about, and so I don't get everything they're talking about, kind of a thing.
It's too obvious about wanting to be cool, which is a potential turn.
Yeah. Right. I think so. It can come off as maybe pretentious a bit.
Yeah.
I think they even have a
But I
line
still
about
loved it.
liking being pretentious somewhere in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? I don't remember that. But, yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed picking it up.
Yeah.
Are you still reading this?
Yes, and I thought it was a very good issue.
Yeah.
But this is definitely better read in trade, I think, because every issue I begin kind of a little disoriented and forgetting who all the characters are.
So, Umbral, what issue are we on?
Yeah, I don't know. Then the last issue was a little bit slow for me.
Yeah, last issue was a little bit of a downer, a little less good issue. And this.
Yeah.
You like this one too?
Oh yeah, I do. Well, and it's probably one of the only fantasy books that I know about right now. But I'm really enjoying it. I like the art. Sometimes I really love the art, and then sometimes I'm like, what's up with that panel?
Right. Yeah, and sometimes the faces get too similar to each other or something.
But still, I'm really enjoying it. It's a fun book, and I like fantasy, so
I think
it's
James
nice to have that in a comic.
James is gone. Yeah, I guess for anybody interested, I would just say get this in trades now that it's pretty far along.
The only other thing I don't really love about this book is that I don't know. It's like I still don't feel like I'm bonding with characters. It's like I really want to like Rascal, but it's like I don't know. There's not enough emotional weight there with really any of the characters.
Yeah. I kind of relate to the old wizard.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite. I want to like Rascal more of this. I'm hoping like over time, her personality really develops.
I think that's a common trait of like fantasy novels I used to read, that there was like a group of characters who come together and have an adventure, but I would never, with a lot of fantasy novels, not feel deeply attached to those characters.
It's more about the adventure than it is the characters themselves.
Yeah, and the travel,
Yeah, and that
landscapes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
the world building is pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And it's pretty unique. I mean, it's not radically unique, but it's pretty unique art style, which is often very good, even though we're complaining about it being sometimes not so good.
Right. Well, no, sometimes it's really awesome, and I'm like, wow, and then you get this one odd panel or whatever where they're like, what happened there?
Yeah. I wish that the people, I know that especially the indie books tend to be written for the trade. I wish they would just a little more consider us monthly readers and fill in a little more. Maybe they could take some of those captions out when they make the trade. But since we've read about how important these initial floppy sales are to them to survive, I feel like they make it a little too hard on us.
Yeah.
Although at the same
I
time,
agree.
I'm excited by all the variety. I think that's why I picked up Wicked and Divine again, just because it's not like anything else.
Right. Trees. Anybody picking up trees?
Yeah.
I actually picked up this issue, but it's my first issue, so
interesting.
I love this cover.
I have to go back and get it.
I have loved every cover that's come out. This one I love. I just the subtle those dragons, so it looks like a I don't know, a Chinese tablecloth or whatever. You got this spilled upside down noodle bowl, the chopsticks, and the whatever the red is, which could be blood or whatever. The covers are just alone to me are absolutely fabulous. I love Jason Howard's art. He's an excellent storyteller, I think. I love his big scenes, his big city scenes and whatnot. Even the opening page alone just draws me in. I mean, it just, there's China, it just, except there's a guy walking along with a boombox, and it looks like he's wearing half a space outfit. I don't know, but it's just, but I keep going back and looking at the panels and the artwork alone, and the story is cool. The story is just fascinating.
Really cool.
We've gotten the last couple issues have dealt more with the personalities and less with the science fiction part of it. Would you say, Damien? And
yeah. After the science fiction setup, it's like we're just gonna look at people's lives in this world, which I enjoy.
Right. It was interesting, but I kept thinking, wow, are we going to walk that far away from the whole alien invasion sci-fi end of this thing? And then, in this issue, we get a little more of the whole, thing with the transgendered character, and then suddenly it opens right back up into the science fiction aspect of it again, right?
The alien flowers, and then it looks like at the end we're going to get something going on in Somalia with.
Because in Somalia is the shortest tree.
Right.
It's short enough they can actually reach the top of it, and it looks like they've dropped some weaponry down on top of the thing, and the Somalis or whoever, somebody's decided they're in Somalia, they're going to pick a fight in some sense with one of these alien structures, which to me would be terrifying. It's like, I mean, because from what we got in like the first issue, there's these massive columns that are like, mini blocks wide, and they go up to the heavens, and other than when they flush their toilets, right, and it spews, some sort of acid toxic and kills people, otherwise the things seem to be relatively benign, right? I mean, they're not messing with anybody. They're not hurting.
They're kind of seemingly inert. They're
not inert, right?
Not interested in us, but not.
Right. So leave it alone. And then here's these people going to piss one off potentially by doing something. I don't know. That to me, I saw that and I'm like, oh gosh, that is almost frightening. The idea, because I was sitting around talking with my kids about it today as I was reading it. You have these things, and other than obviously it'd be horrible to live right next to one of these, but otherwise, it's been 5 years or whatever. You just kind of ignore it and attempt to go on with your life, and now to have somebody potentially kicking a hornet's nest would be, I don't know. That's just kind of ooh. frightening. And it's really interesting. The guys up in the Antarctic where these plants are growing, and they find out these plants are both are organic and they have mineral base in them. Looks like they have circuitry in them, and it was just this whole interesting, really, really interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that from the beginning. Like, we're reading about this transgender person, and this guy's going to art school, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, I went to stop. I didn't see it coming because I hadn't read the first issues, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
the whole circuitry and the plant and everything.
Yeah. Go back and get them.
I'm gonna have to go back and
It's a book I'm enjoying, but I don't really know what to say about it because it's going to take a long time before you know where it's really going. It feels like.
Right. I guess it depends on why you're wanting to read it. If you're wanting to read it solely for the trees themselves and that sci-fi part of it, I think those parts are going to be stretched out in between us learning about these people too, and just who they are and why they exist, and I'm curious to find out with the characters that they've introduced, with the exception of the science guy that's in Antarctic, and maybe the mayor, if we ever get back to him, that's in New York, how these people are players in this bigger picture. I mean, are they just happen to be days in the lives of these people, or is this kid artist somehow going to have some impact on the what are the trees and whatever? Or are we just going to get a slice of what it's like to live amongst whatever, and this is the different slices we're getting? Because, we have that last story, that younger woman that's now kind of with that older gentleman in Brazil, that, how is that story going to tie into the sci-fi end of this, or is it going to? Or is it just telling us a bigger picture?
There is a small vein of science fiction in prose, in novels, that sets up a future and then does a tapestry of it, where you follow 8 or 10 different characters, and it's not very plot-driven. Mm-hmm. And it possibly could be what he's doing here.
Right. Well, that's what it feels to me like. Other than we've now issue 4, we've kind of touched back on, right? We've kind of come back to this threat is now made itself apparent again. I mean, we get that first issue where, bang, there's these trees, and it shows those, images of like that one in Brazil squirting out of that green acid crap that's just burning people to death and all that kind of stuff. Right. So we get the threat that it's there. And then we get these kind of in-between issues that kind of give us these exposure to these people, and now at the end of issue 4, we've come back around to, these plants that are blocking out their instruments, and this one in Somalia where they're gonna mess with it, basically. So,
do you worry that it could be like The Wake, though, and be so different that it's gonna almost flip? It's gonna be first 5 issues and flip to, just aliens or something else, or?
I don't think so. I don't think so because they're not billing it. I mean, The Wake was billed as we're going to have this first half and then we're going to have a second half.
Okay.
And this isn't being that way. So if there's a radical split in it, it makes no sense. Where I didn't enjoy The Wake for that split, but that was a known thing. It was going to go 5 issues and then it was going to shift gears and do another 5 issues.
Okay. All right.
I was thinking while reading this that there's almost a whole sort of subgenre of artists now who have this kind of scratchy but dynamic style. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of Sean Murphy and who's the guy who does Black Science and just did Batman. The artist on Black Science. Scalera.
Scalera, thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. I like it. It just seems interesting. It seems like there's a bunch of artists who have this kind of similar style all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's both the scratchy style and the kind of very interesting things going on in the panel angles and layouts and stuff.
Right. It's also reminiscent of like Deadly Class too.
Right, which I have a trade of, which I'll be reading soon.
Yeah, yeah. I like everything about the book. It's one of my favorite books out right now. It's just interesting enough and hits enough of the right things in my head to. I'm just really enjoying it.
Yeah, for me, it's a very enjoyable. I'm definitely sticking with it. It just the issues feel small, so I just feel less. I have less to say about it in a way. Well, I managed to talk anyway.
So, any other indie books you want to talk about?
That's all my books.
Yeah, that's all mine.
I picked up Stray Killers, issue number 6. Kind of more of the same. We've kind of swung back around to some characters that we talked about that they were in, like issue 2, I think. I won't go into great detail on it. If you're familiar with Stray Bullets, it's more Stray Bullets. It's the kind of train wreck of people's lives in the 80s in this case. Interesting, compelling if you like watching people's lives fall apart. I know it sounds horrible, doesn't it? But that's kind of what it is.
Jump on this issue? Because I almost did, and I probably will next week. Yes.
I mean, these characters, you're not going to know everything about them from here, but there's nothing to stop you from starting this knowing that these you quickly figure out that these two younger people are a couple. They have some family issues, and yeah, you shouldn't have too much problem with it. I really like it. I like David Lantham's style. I like his art. It's all black and white. I know some people go, "Oh my God, black and white, yuck!" But it's classic storytelling, and he does a great job of it. You look at people's faces, you tell what their emotions are. The people aren't beautiful people. The people look like normal people, and I dig it. One of the things I am curious about, I noticed in this issue, is the numbering of the pages. It actually has page numbers, and so this is issue number 6, and that says it's page number 151. So it's being numbered. It's being numbered from issue 1 straight on through. So I don't know if if he's writing this whole thing as one giant volume, that I'm picking up in singles, because of course I have that big omnibus of the first Stray Bullets. So I don't know.
Have you gotten to that omnibus yet?
I am probably 100 pages in.
And is it all one story in there?
No, it's vignettes of different stuff. It's kind of like this. This is the same kind of a way. It's like you'll read a story about a character, about some characters. It'll have kind of a whatever seemingly ending. It could end there, and then you'll go on to some other people. The next issue will have some other people in it, set and maybe not even the same exact time. And then we come back to some of those characters after a while. They'll tell more of their story. You don't have to have more of their story, but it does give you, another piece of story with different characters.
I think the first issue of the first series may be free on Comixology.
Oh, okay.
Or was a while back, and I read it and enjoyed it, but I wasn't ready to be depressed at that point. But now I feel ready for it, so I thought I'd pick up.
And it won't be exactly the same, but it's all like that in one sense or another. I mean, all of it is. I can't sit down and read that big thick omnibus in one shot. I can only take, a story or two at a time, and I need to go find something else to do, something more pleasant like kicking puppies or something, because it is. Some of them are rough. Some of them are just crazy and fun. There was the Stray Bullets Killers. The last issue was kind of more of a set in the future, crazy sci-fi kind of nutsy, violent as all get out, but just but bonkers and fun. So
that would that one make a good, like if you just wanted to pick up one issue, would that make a good one?
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah. I mean, just about any of them you can really pick up on their own that I've read so far, and you just get told a little piece of story. There's obviously more story to be told, because just like in people's lives, it's not like unless you die, there's more story to be told, right? If you listen to me talk now and come back a year from now, I'm sure I'll have something to say. It's the same with these stories, kind of a thing.
Right. Hopefully it's not that your legs have been amputated or something.
Right, hopefully not. That's it. I don't got any more books. We're probably done because we've gone probably 2.5 hours now of talking.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I could probably talk a couple more hours. It's comic books. I can talk comic books for a long time. So I want to thank everybody who hung out and joined us that skipped Doctor Who to experience comic books instead. I hear there are Doctor Who comic books out there. But I don't know. I think Titan owns the licensing for Doctor Who now, but no idea what those books are like. But anyway, thank you guys for coming on. It was awesome to have a big group of people to talk comic books. It makes it longer, but this way we get to hear a lot more ideas and a lot more thoughts on what we're reading, so I appreciate y'all being here. James sent me a message saying that he's sorry his computer is being stupid, which we kind of noticed as he kept popping in and out. He got tired of it and decided to go to bed. So he apologizes for not being here, but thanks us for listening to him talk while he could. So anybody got any parting words of wisdom they want to leave us with before I shut it down?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm gonna go watch the end of the A's game. So bye, guys.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you all for being here. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.